I've really only found 3 miter saw fences that are aftermarket that you can put on your miter saw, and I have all 3 of them here with me today. Of course, on my Festool Capex here, I have the Kaizen miter saw fence. I found this cheap, like, imitation Kaizen fence, which is made out of like 3/8 MDF that I found on Amazon for like 10 bucks. Now, I will just go ahead and tell you right up front, this one is the best price. And then I've also found this fence right here from Fastcap. Fastcap actually reached out to me and wanted to see if they could send me one of these, and I kind of said no. I mean, I did say no, but a buddy of mine let me borrow this, and I'm gonna tell you why I said no to them sending me this. I didn't want it. I think the best way to go about this kind of review of these 3 fences is to start at the bottom. We're gonna start with the worst one, and of course that's this little 3/8 MDF fence, if you will, if you want to even call it that. It's kind of weird because I feel like if you're a carpenter making stuff for your miter saw, why would you buy this? I think I said it was $10 in the intro there, but it's actually, I think, around 25 or 30 bucks. I'll put it on the screen if it's still available on Amazon. But I gotta be honest with you guys, this is actually the second take trying to film this little segment, because the first time when I was opening this, I dropped this piece on the floor, or one of these pieces, and it hit the ground and it damaged my brand new fence. But this is your basic, I think I just damaged it. It dented the edge, and you know how brittle MDF is. Kind of weird. I kind of brought this one out just to say, like, what even is this? I mean, there's really no benefit. There's no crown stop mechanism to it. And the only thing I could really see happening with this one is, yes, you could bring them together and make yourself a 0 clearance. Why would you do that? If it was me, and I was kind of making this stuff up, I would just screw a board to my fence, like a piece of 1/2-inch plywood or something. The MDF is not the most stable thing either. I would probably do something like 1/2-inch Baltic birch or something a little bit more stable. Just kind of weird that a carpenter would pay 30 bucks or whatever it is for a piece of 3/8 MDF that you can screw to your saw. You can do that with anything. Yes, it does have this cutout shape, and oddly enough, that shape right there, the first fence, the only other fence I know of in the world that has that shape is the Kaizen. So it's kind of like they saw this Kaizen and then copied that shape. So no surprise here, an obvious number 3. This one comes in dead last, and it's just gonna go in the trash where it belongs. So let's move on to second place here. Now, in second place, we have the crown stop fence from Fastcap. So this is an aftermarket fence, and it goes on DeWalt saws only. So it has that slot cut out, and it'll slide right in with the DeWalt saws. Now, it doesn't fit all DeWalt saws, so you'd have to check compatibility. I think it does fit like the main sliders and everything that most guys have, but these little stops right here, that's why it's called a crown stop fence, these will come off, and you gotta loosen that up, and they'll slide out. That one goes on the other side, and then this one, I've never actually done this before. I promise this is not a setup to make this look bad. Why is this not moving? Let's take this all the way out. There's the little thumb screw to stop it. I promise you, this is not to make this look bad. Why is this not coming out? Maybe you just gotta walk it out of there. Let me see if it's that. Maybe this thing's messed up. Let's cut a lot of this out. There it goes, it's out. Okay, that was not fun, but what you're supposed to do, you have this little stop, it drops down into the slot of the fence, and then it slides down, and then it sets your crown at the nested position. But what I'm noticing is you have to walk it down, and you've definitely got to put some grease in here or something, because this is not fun. These things don't move. What is going on? I do not understand this. Maybe it's said to like grease it in the instructions or something, but I feel like it should move a little bit. Goodness. There's my struggle with this thing. You get the idea. It's keeps your crown in the nested position. It's the Fastcap crown stop fence. I am not interested. As I mentioned, they did offer to send me one of these when they were first releasing it last year, I believe it was. And I just passed on it for a couple reasons. I did talk to the owner via email, and he was like, hey, I like your stuff. You want to try this out? And I had already known some of the backstory of how this came to be and how the inventor of this kind of like, not to get into drama and get petty, but kind of copied this in my opinion. And I straight up told the inventor, hey, I think you stole this idea. I'll put the price on the screen, but it was like 150 bucks. So you would definitely be in the more cost-effective range for this. But things aren't what they cost, guys. They're what they're worth, especially on a job site, right? This fence right here is definitely more expensive than this. And I'll put the price on the screen right now for you so you can see it. But the one function fence, there's a reason I'm saying that. This is all you get out of it. This thing is actually more expensive than the Kaizen plastic version. So this is kind of a new thing that Tom has developed. This is cheaper than this, and it's way cheaper than the Pro one, which we'll get to in a minute. It does all the functions that the aluminum one does. Yeah, it doesn't have a T-track in the back here, so you can't like micro adjust it. Like, for example, we're getting into the weeds here, but if you have a Makita and you put this plastic one on a Makita, you don't really have the option to slide in and get closer for zero clearance because the Makita does not have a sliding fence. For example, I could pop this off here, I'll do this one, and I could slide this back and forth, okay? You can't do that on the Makita. But what you can do is if you put an aluminum version of the Kaizen on a Makita, well then now you can slide in. So really the only thing the aluminum one has over the plastic one is that it can't slide. If you look at the back here, it's just bolted to the back. If I show you the back of this one, it's got that T-track in it. See that T-track? That will allow this, I can loosen that cam lock right there, and then I can slide the Kaizen fence independently of the factory fence. What that does is it gets your zero clearance stuff closer, just opens up more options. So that's what the aluminum one does versus the plastic. So again, this one is more expensive than the plastic version of Kaizen's. So if you guys are worried about the price, I'd go with the plastic version all day long. I wouldn't really even mess with this. So let's talk about the first place winner today. There's no surprise. You've heard me talk about it throughout the video, and that is the Kaizen Fence. And yes, I'm affiliated with the owner, although I make nothing if you buy this fence. So it doesn't matter to me. I think you will thank me if you take my recommendation and buy this fence, and you'll be happy with your purchase. But other than that, I get nothing, and that's 100% transparent right there. Other than Tom saying like, hey, thanks for sending people my way. That's about it. He'll give me a thank you. And he's offered to give me stuff, but I'm not gonna, this is his invention. I just talk about stuff that I like. Okay, the Kaizen Fence. Let's talk about this thing, okay? Beautiful right off the bat, and to be honest with you guys, that's actually, I didn't even know all the things that this did when I first bought this several years ago. I was like, whoa, that thing's pretty. So I bought it, and I was like, I'll figure it out later. And this was going back, I think like 4 or 5 years ago when I bought my first version. And even in that version, that was version 1. This is now version 3. You'll notice some different things about it. In this version, it is aluminum. Awesome aluminum machined. He's got a manufacturer who's doing awesome precision work on the manufacture of this now. He's got this right here. This is the plastic tip version in the version 3. So what that allows is, like I'll show you on this one, since it's on the saw, you can move this closer to get that down right up to your blade. So you can cut through this plastic. Actually, that's the idea. So that when you're cutting expensive stain grade stuff, or you just want to cut with a backer to it, you don't have any blowout. You get that full support all the way up to your blade. We use that quite a bit in the field when working with this on all of our Kaizen fences. Although one of my Kaizens is not a Generation 3, so it does not have a plastic tip, but still a great fence. Next off, let's talk about the crown stop jig aspect of this. So this is a 5mm shelf pin that I'm holding right here. 5mm shelf pins are pretty much going to be found on every job site. Say you're on a job site and you don't have some of these, go ask the cabinet man, because I guarantee you he has some. Or pull one from a cabinet and borrow it if you need to make a cut. What I'm trying to say is, just these are everywhere. This little 5mm shelf pin is what this was designed off of. So every hole you see on here is a 5mm hole. Even right here by the plastic tip, you have a hole right there. Why would you have one there? Well, let's say you have a bunch of little shortcuts you want to make. So you're going to take that 5mm shelf pin and you're going to pop it in there. And then now, like I showed you earlier, you can move this thing close, so you have the capability to get little shortcuts like right there. And if you want, say you have like a 4-inch cut, all right, you're gonna pull that back 4 inches. Oh, I need a 5-inch cut. Bam, bam, bam. You can get all in that range. So you've got that hole there. You've got all these options here. You can move this over and slide the fence independently and have repeatable cuts on demand at different increments. So let's talk next about this right here. This is the crown stop jig part of it. What this is a T-track, which this is kind of the idea that was taken from this and put on that, in my humble, unbiased opinion. Maybe not unbiased, but humble opinion. This will go up. You've got a thumb screw in the back. See how easy it was to get that in position. I'll show you there. There's that thumb screw, tighten and loosen, and that T-track will just slide right where you want it. You need a cut base, pop that up. You've got 3 storage components right here where you can store 3 of these if you want, just to have backup. So we could drop that back down. You see how fast that drops down, and then it tightens up, and that thing is not moving. Like, I can try to move it with the shelf pin, it's not moving. It's a super tight system. And what's cool about this track here is it's not just a single function. This track can come out, and you can see you've got this empty slot there. He has another track that's specific to jigs, so you can set up your own jig. Another thing that I've done with this is I've dropped it in that last hole right there at the bottom, and then you can prop it up like this, and you can use it for offset panel moldings. So usually I have to build like this jig out of scrap, and I cut my offset panel moldings, but you can kind of set this as a stop for that as well, because it does get so low. You can actually set your moldings on there. This is kind of a long pin, and that's the other thing. You can use longer pins, or you can use the shorter shelf pins there. He even has these. He'll give you some of these in the box if you decide to order. These are little white tabs here, and these things go there. So if you want it to be straight, if you don't want that circular pin there, you could use the white tab, and you can see how it rotates freely. But if you're referencing the table of the saw and you push wood up against that, it's gonna flatten out exactly where you want it, which is dreamy compared to what I just struggled with on that thing. Like I was saying, if you drop this down here, I can set my offset panel molding on that little plastic tab, and in the case, when you open this thing up, he gives you like 50 of these, and you can always order more from him if you want. So with this empty track here, there's other things you can drop in there, like this bad boy right here. This is the Extreme Angle Jig, and if you follow my channel, you've seen me use this. Now let me set this down and we'll talk about this. On the original one, this wasn't adjustable, and that's what's cool about it. He's always improving each generation. He's on generation 3 right now, so if you purchase one, you're gonna get what you see here. This allows you to move in or out. I'll just show you. So there's a T-track on the back of that that drops in here. So that's in there. So with that now loosened, you see how this drops in there, and then it references with the flat bottom of your actual miter saw table. There's a slot there that will adjust this. So now you can move this in and out closer or further away from the blade. Let me lock that down in the back. So if you want to get tighter in to the zero clearance there, you can get all the way right there with your extreme angle cuts. Now, what's an extreme angle? Anything that your miter saw doesn't do. So this one will go to 60 degrees on the right and 50 degrees on the left. If you're doing stairs or some crazy angle where it's going up this steep rake, then you're gonna need something that'll cut that. There are jigs you can just build on site and stuff, but the idea is that this is adjustable and it comes in the pro kit anyways, so why not just have this in a sustainer ready to go, and when you need to cut an extreme angle, you just bust it out and drop it in. And then like I mentioned, the plastic version as well will accept that extreme angle. So what you could do if you wanted to save a little bit of money, you could order a plastic one and then just add an extreme angle jig to it as well, and then you literally end up with the same thing. And on the plastic one, even though the fence is plastic, it still has, I'll grab this one too, it still has the plastic tips available. So you don't have to order a complete new plastic fence, you just change these tips out right here. You see that line right there? That's where it bolts onto it. So there's definitely options with the Kaizen fence. Tom has a video, the inventor of the Kaizen fence and the inventor of having a crown stop up the fence of the saw versus the table. And he talks about even more functions than I'm talking about in this video. And he gives you examples of cutting them. So I'm gonna link that video down in the description if you guys wanna check that out. It'll be there, and I highly recommend checking it out if you're in the market for an aftermarket fence. So I talked about 3 fences today. We've got that kind of MDF one that I really wouldn't even consider. We've got that Fastcap one that I really wouldn't even consider. I mean, like I said, I say, like, things are not what they cost, they're what they're worth. And even with this being cheaper than that Fastcap one, like, you really can't go wrong with this one. So if you're in the market for an aftermarket fence, I highly recommend these Kaizens, whether it's the plastic or the aluminum pro version. And again, this is not sponsored. I literally get nothing if you do or don't buy these fences. I'm just trying to help you guys out and tell you what I use. So let me know if you have any questions about this. Leave them down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys on the next video.